Norm tweeted out, moron specialis. I have been challenged on one and only one point in the Lex Friedman debate. Here is the relevant excerpt from the official transcript. I filled in the legal term that I used and placed it in uppercase. I don't know if you used the phrase dolus specialis, that the international part of genocide, muin. I don't know that term. Me. I think it's called dolus specialis. It's the most important part of genocide, which is proving it is a highly special intent to commit genocide. It's possible that Israel could. That's mens rea. Yes, I understand the state of mind, but for genocide, it's called dolus specialis. It's a highly special intent. Did you read the case? Yeah. It is a highly special intent, inaudible. He says, mens rea, criminal intent from the Latin for guilty mind, denotes the legal principle at stake, while dolus specialis, criminal intent to commit genocide, denotes one application of it. Here is an example of the usage from the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. Okay, so he's kind of correct here. I would say he's correct here, if I'm not being really picky. But the problem is, if I say the more precise term, why would you correct me with a less precise term? Like, if I say, I think the example I gave to Like yesterday, if I say, I drive a Mustang, and somebody goes, you mean a Ford? What? Or more aptly, if I say, tomorrow, I'm going to a racetrack and they only allow certain types of cars on there. For instance, I have to bring my Mustang. They'll only allow Mustangs on the track. And somebody would say, you mean a Ford? No, they don't use, not all Fords. I mean, a Mustang is a Ford, but not all Fords would be allowed on the track. I'm very precisely talking about a Mustang for this track. On this particular day, they only want Mustangs on the track. It doesn't make sense to call it, to just say Ford. But the ultra-ironic part of him linking this case, and I don't know if he just didn't read it or if he actually, maybe he truly does have poor reading comprehension, okay? Now, I need you to turn your brains on for a moment, okay? Because this is, we're gonna be on one right now, okay? We're gonna be diving into the pedantry of this, all right? It is important, I think. In considering whether a perpetrator had the requisite mens rea, regard must be had to his mode of participation in the given crime. Under the Biscicero indictment, I'm not going to try to pronounce half these names, Elizaphan was convicted of aiding and abetting genocide, while Gerard was convicted of committing genocide. The requisite mens rea for aiding and abetting genocide is the accomplice's knowledge of the genocidal intent of the principal perpetrators. So what this particular part of this case was considering was, here's the question, and it's so funny because it so perfectly illustrates my point, and it perfectly illustrates that Norm has no idea what he's talking about here. Here's what's happening right now. For genocide, to commit to do a genocidal thing, you have to have the dolus specialis, and then I think it's actus reus or dolus actus or something. There's some other dumb Latin term. You have to do a thing, okay? You need to have the dolus specialis. This is the intent to commit genocide, the special intent. Dolus specialis, the special intent. Anytime you read special intent in a genocide document, that's what they're referring to. Dolus specialis is special intent. You have to have this, and you have to have the action, okay, of whatever you did that was part of like committing the genocide, right? What this case was trying to figure out, though, was another guy over here. Okay, another guy over here, he helped this guy. He aided this guy, all right? But what the court was trying to figure out is, if he's aiding and abetting in a genocide, does it count if he doesn't have dolus specialis? Because typically we'd say you need the special intent to commit genocide. Having the mens rea of helping him, having the criminal mind of helping him commit a crime, isn't enough to get you to genocide. The mens rea of committing the crime, that's not enough. You need the special intent to commit genocide. And we don't know if aiding and abetting somebody, killing somebody who's committing genocide, also makes you as aiding and abetting a genocide. And what the court found was, the court said that, well, if you know of his special intent, so if you know his dolus specialis to commit genocide, and then you have the prerequisite mens rea to help him kill somebody, then we can be said that the transference occurs there, that you have now aided and abetted in genocide and you can be held culpable. But the analysis here to get him to a genocide-related charge means that he needs to be aware of his dolus specialis. And if he does know about his genocidal intent, then we can say that he's aided and abetted in genocide as long as he meets the mens rea for having aided and abetted in that particular crime and he has the knowledge of his dolus specialis. Okay, sorry. So I'm giving you a little bit of background on what they're trying to prove here, and then that's what this is about. From the evidence, the trial chamber found that the attackers in Becicero had the dolus specialis, the specific genocidal intent. Furthermore, in the view of the appeals chamber, it is clear that Elizabeth knew of this intent. That's the guy who's convicted of aiding and abetting. Since he knew of the dolus specialis, the trial chamber found that Elizabeth was present during several attacks on refugees in Becicero, including situations where the armed attackers saying, exterminate them, kill them, blah, 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 while chasing and killing Tutsis. It is from this, as well as from Iris transporting the armed attackers and directing them towards fleeing Tutsi refugees, that the trial chamber found that Elizabeth had the requisite intent to commit genocide. So his mens rea here is coming from the dolus specialis of the other group, is where it's coming from their genocidal intent, convicting him of aiding and abetting genocide. In the view of the appeals chamber, it is not necessary to consider whether the trial chamber correctly concluded that Elizabeth had the dolus specialis, the specific intent to commit genocide. We don't need that for him because given that it convicted him of not of committing that crime, but rather of aiding and abetting the genocide, a mode of criminal participation which does not require the dolus specialis. The appeals chamber finds that Elizabeth knew of the genocidal intent. He knew the dolus specialis, okay, on that picture right here. He knew about the other guy's dolus specialis, of the attackers, whom he aided and abetted in the perpetration of genocide in Becicero, and therefore that he possessed the requisite mens rea for that crime. So that's what this means here, okay? I'm trying to say it's not that complicated. I don't think it's that complicated, but maybe it's because I've like read about all this shit now an autistic amount. Not even an autistic amount. Did these distinguished judges err by referring to mens rea and not dolus specialis? Him typing this out here means that he had absolutely no understanding of what he just read here. He has no idea because this whole part, and if you actually click through and you actually read through some of the document, now I'll be honest, I didn't have time to read all 91 pages of this, but I was skimming it. I was reading a few paragraphs because I was curious. Okay, well, maybe they do. Do they use the terms interchangeably in here? They don't. Dolus specialis is the special intent required for genocide. It is a special form of mens rea that is elevated from an ordinary state of mind to commit a criminal act. And they say as much when they talk about this. In its judgment, the trial chamber followed the approach adopted by the Akayusu trial chamber that the dolus specialis required for genocide was required for each mode of participation under Article 6, subsection 1 of the statute, including aiding and abetting. So here, a prior trial chamber had ruled that, oh, well, you need dolus specialis to aid and abet in genocide. But what this court found was, surprisingly, when considering the mens rea requirement for complicity under Article 2(3)(e) of the statute, the trial chamber in Akayasu considered that it implies in general that at the moment he acted, the accomplice knew of the assistance he was providing in the commission of the principal offense. In other words, the accomplice must have acted knowingly. Knowingly in the context of genocide means knowledge of the principal offender's dolus specialis. The trial chamber in Akayasu summarized its position as following. In conclusion, the chamber is of the opinion that an accused is liable as an accomplice to genocide if he knowingly aided or abetted or instigated, this is the mens rea, you knowingly aid or abet or instigated one or more persons in the commission of genocide, while knowing that such a person or persons were committing genocide, meaning having the dolus specialis, even though the accused himself did not have the dolus specialis to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. Do we understand? Do you understand this? Am I making sense here? So what it's saying is, let's say I've got a friend and he says, I want to kill all Indians. And I go, well, I mean, I don't know if I want to kill, I don't think I want to kill Indians, but he wants to like buy weapons from me. And I'm like, okay, I know you want to kill all Indians, okay? And I'm going to sell you weapons knowing that, okay? I'm going to sell you weapons knowing you're going to go kill Indians. I have the mens rea there, but I don't have the dolus specialis. I'm not committing genocide. I just have the mens rea of doing an illegal action, which is selling him weapons knowing he's going to intend to use them harmfully. But if I know that he has that special genocidal intent, if he has the dolus specialis, and I know that, then my mens rea is enough to convict me of a genocide-related crime because I know about his genocidal intent, and I'm still choosing the mens rea aspect, the criminal intent. I'm still choosing to engage with him in a criminal way. That's what this court was talking about in the section that Norm highlighted here. I was stating the obvious that the critical point of contention in a genocide case is proving criminal intent. No, it is not. That is not the critical point of contention. The critical point is the dolus specialis. That is the critical aspect. It is one of two vital elements. It is one of two vital, necessary elements in order to be convicted. You need the dolus specialis and you need another action. Because saying mens rea isn't specific enough. Because we could say, let's say that I go to some group of people, where is it? Let's say that I go to a bunch of Palestinians or a bunch of black people, whatever, and I just start killing them. Boom, 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 and I kill them. Like, oh, what'd you do? It's like, I wanted to kill these guys today. Boom. I would have mens rea. The mens rea thing of killing a person would be there, and then the act would be there. Is that genocide? No. Why isn't it genocide? We got the mens rea and the act itself. Because you didn't have the special genocidal intent. The special genocidal intent. But yes, okay. I was pointing out the obvious that the critical point of contention in a genocide case is proving criminal intent. And of course, everyone in the room understood that the threshold under the Genocide Convention is proving criminal intent to commit genocide. This is not true as well, which is why we just saw up here that a person could be convicted of a genocidal crime without having that special intent to commit genocide if he was aware that a person he was aiding and abetting did have that dolus specialis to commit genocide. Does this make sense now? Speaking of Fantastic Mars, I wonder how Mr. Vermicelli was doing. But anyway, I felt like I had like 70% conviction on this point walking into that debate, but I decided to fight on it anyway. And now after reading this, now I have like 98% conviction on this point because this court case that he links completely and perfectly illustrates the point that I was trying to make. Yeah.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.